Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner, and I'm pleased to have as my guest a familiar face to at least some of you, Hillary Varnador. She is the Executive Director of Star Communities. Welcome, Hillary.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
It's nice to see you too, and I'm happy to have you on the program so people can catch up with what you're doing with Star Communities.
Yeah, lots happening.
Well, at one time, you worked for Frederick County government, and you were our first director of the Office of Sustainability. So can you start off by talking a little bit about what you used to do for Frederick County government?
Absolutely. So as the first sustainability director, it was really starting off establishing the office, creating programs. There was a lot already going on in the county related to environmental work as well as sustainability efforts through the comprehensive energy plan, the fuel conservation efforts that were already in place. But we were really trying to kind of bring everything together and provide some focus and organization to the effort. Two things that I think were, really great that we did were focus on leading by example, internal operations, really pulling together all of the efforts in all of the departments. We had a sustainable action team. I don't even know, does it still exist? Where members of different departments came together to talk about the sustainability goals within all of the agencies of county government and how we could work together to reach those or achieve those goals. We also worked on external efforts, and I forget what year it was, maybe 2009, when we created the resolution for the first Sustainability Commission. And bringing together community stakeholders and community voices to the process was a really important way to not just, do our thing in county government, but really work with all of the wonderful people in our county that have a lot of expertise on subjects that we may not have had within the county government. So I think leading by example internally as well as bringing the community voices in, those were two major initiatives that got started. Otherwise, I think just starting to really track and measure our impact, right? I mentioned the fuel conservation plan. My work now nationally with cities and counties, we notice that not a lot of folks are measuring things. And I remember how much it costs for a copy of black and white paper versus a copy of color paper. And the messages like that were brought through all of the departments from management services really got employees to think about how to be better stewards, to be more efficient, and really think before they act, right? Even on something as simple as making a copy.
Well, I do think the metrics and the measuring is very important because some of the things that you initially started to work on that have carried forward are saving and reducing energy consumption.
Yep.
And you need to track how much progress you've made. And what people really want to know is how much money you've saved. And we've saved over $500,000 a year by reducing energy consumption, and that's real money.
Yeah.
And the same with fuel consumption. I think across the county, with maybe the exception of transit, we reduced fuel consumption by 10% on average, and that's a lot of money for Frederick County taxpayers. And I really think sustainability is about making sure that we protect the future and that what we do can be sustained over time, make us resilient to what is changing in the world, because we know change is coming fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the work that we've done has gone kind of beyond, and when I say the work that we've done at my new position,
I need to ask you about that,
which we haven't even talked about. We're really looking at the economic, social, and environmental impacts from a sustainability perspective. But I think it's important to note that the office here was originally the Office of Environmental Sustainability, and that emphasis on the environmental aspects was because we don't have a Department of the Environment in Frederick County, and we had a lot of smaller groups of staff that were kind of scattered around different departments, different agencies that had an environmental focus, but it wasn't all brought together in one place. And so the Office of Environmental Sustainability did take an environmental perspective, kind of over even the social and economic elements that we work in now. And that was for a reason. And for instance, the watershed management group was brought in to kind of, expand the group and bring kind of like-minded employees together that could be more effective. So I think the office has always had an environmental focus for that reason, because
it doesn't exist.
You have economic development and you have folks working on the social issues already.
Well, now you work for Star Communities. So tell us a little bit about Star Communities and what Star Community provides.
Sure. So when I was actually an employee of Frederick County government, I was actually in the planning department. I was a technical advisor to the development of the STAR community rating system. So the rating system was called for by local leaders around the country who were seeking out a common framework for sustainability, as well as a standard set of metrics by which to measure, are we sustainable? How do we know? How do we define it? How do we measure it? And then how do we kind of all across the country move together forward in the same way? So I started off that way, took the job because I loved my work here, but was kind of excited at the opportunity to do the same work at a national scale and kind of coordinate with other local leaders around the U.S. So today I'm the executive director of the organization. We created the organization STAR Communities to administer the rating system. We did that about 5 years ago. And so now we're working with cities, towns, and counties all around the country who are interested in measuring their social, economic, and environmental performance and basically making improvements, setting goals, measuring progress, and improving their communities. So it's a lot of fun. I get to work with people like you all around the U.S.
Well, everybody wants to be a star and wants to be a star community at the end of the day. So I know that Frederick County is going to become involved with star communities, and so that we can measure our progress. So how do local governments get started?
Great. Okay, so a couple of ways. One is that we just put out last year the leading indicators, which is a set of 21 metrics that local governments can start with. Many local governments may not be measuring these things already. So it's an opportunity to kind of dabble in metrics, see what you can pull together, and then benchmark and compare with other communities across the country. That's an easy way to get started. But we're ready to get you started to full certification as well, and we can take it in pieces. The rating system itself is large. There are 7 goal areas with objectives beneath, and then different types of metrics. There are quantitative measures and qualitative measures. So the qualitative are local actions, the things you're doing. You're adopting plans, you're putting infrastructure in place, you're putting together partnerships and collaborations. All those things that the county and some of your community stakeholders are doing account as local actions. Those local actions are intended to move the needle on change in conditions in the community. And those are the quantitative metrics, the outcomes that we're measuring. And so the goal there is to see, are all these investments we're making, are all of your priorities, are they really getting you where you want to go? Are they moving you in the right direction? So the rating system was built to help local leaders determine, are our actions moving the needle on change in outcomes or conditions? And that's important to then come back and say, your quality of life goals as county executive, we are on track. We are moving forward in the right direction. Or maybe this area is a gap and we need to invest in it or bring stakeholders together to work through some issues.
And can it also help us to identify areas where we might get the most bang for the buck?
Certainly, because first of all, the local actions that are in STAR, it's not just a laundry list of random things. I mean, these have been vetted by experts. I mentioned I was one of the technical experts. There's been hundreds of technical experts around the country who have vetted everything that's in the rating system. So you're not just getting like this, here's a bunch of stuff you could do. It's like, these are the things that we've vetted that you should do because they're proven to work in communities across the country. And now we'll be at 70 certifications soon. So we have all of the data from the communities that have gone through the process to say, yeah, it's working. It's working, it's helping.
So can you give us an example of a specific goal and some of the actions that would be measured under it?
Sure. Okay. So since we were kind of talking about climate and energy goals, there's a whole section on the municipal resource footprint, and it's all about the things that Frederick County is doing. Looking at, are you doing a greenhouse gas emissions inventory? That is an action in STAR. Are you doing it? Whether your inventory is telling you if you're on track or not, that would be an outcome. So the action is to do the inventory. The outcome is whether all the things that you're doing are making the improvements, or in this case, a decrease in emissions, right? So those are some examples under municipal footprint. let's think of another example. So let's see. Well, there's a whole
watershed or
the
water
natural
quality.
systems is another. So under environment, we have built environment, natural systems, and climate and energy. Those are the 3 goal areas. So natural systems has a lot on green infrastructure, natural resource protection, all about your water systems, both wastewater, drinking water, stormwater. That's all included in natural systems and built environment. You've been measuring water quality. I mean, some of these things are required by permits and state regulations, and so a lot of communities are going to have, I would say, particularly in the environmental area, these standards have been in place for decades, and so you will have the information there. Some of the newer areas is where newer areas for metrics are where communities are still struggling. Climate and energy is actually an area where communities struggle to do well, in part because they're just starting to measure themselves and kind of track how well they're doing, as well as some states just don't even make that data available, which is difficult. Fortunately, that's not the case here. The other area that we see a lot of struggle is in equity and empowerment. So in sustainability right now across the country, a lot of communities are realizing that, we might have been preaching to the crowd, the same kind of group of folks, and we need to really kind of think, is this a sustainable, livable community for all,
everybody,
right? Mm-hmm. And so really looking neighborhood by neighborhood and ensuring that our investments are actually going equitably, right? Whether it's where you do your green infrastructure projects or where you do your sidewalk improvements or where you're putting your stores and your new construction so equity and empowerment is a space that is a big focus right now across the country in local governments, and particularly with sustainability, understanding that we're, not just trying to make this a great place for some, but for all.
For everybody.
That's a big thing. But so we see communities not do as well there because, one, again, they haven't tracked the data. There may not be data. I think when we met last week, you talked about sometimes in the kind of aging and health communities, there's data hasn't been reported the same, and that is a big deal in the social arena. I think overall, they're very action focused and maybe haven't had their requirements for outcomes. So, working with cities through that, Seattle was a city that did really well in our rating system, but just didn't fare as well in equity and empowerment. And they said, we get it. This isn't a sustainable city for all, and we need to work towards that. And it just fed right into a new mayor coming into office and developing out their equity and environment initiative. So anyway, lots going on.
There's a lot going on, and I'm sure I could talk to you for a long time on this topic, but we don't have that much time. So where can people find more information about STAR Communities?
Okay, so we have a website, naturally, starcommunities.org. It's STAR, and then communities is plural with IES.org. Go there, tons of information. Of course, we're on Facebook and Twitter and all those other fun social media outlets. It's just at Star Communities. But start with the website. There's a lot of great information. You can see the leading indicators there. You can actually go through the rating system and you can download a free copy and read some of our articles in the news section of our website. That's where all of our blog and updates are. It's a pretty interesting spot.
So as you know, one of my initiatives in Frederick County is to re-energize and reinvigorate our sustainability efforts. And I've elevated the Office of Environmental Sustainability to report under the County Executive's Office again so that we can bring in all county agencies to the table, which is very consistent with what you've talked about. So I think STAR Communities will help us to track our metrics and our goals across all of our county agencies. So we're very excited to be able to get involved and become certified in STAR Communities. So if people do want to know about what we're doing in sustainability, they can go to frederickcountymd.gov/sustainability and check it out on our webpage.
Yep.
Well, we look forward to getting involved in STAR Communities, and thank you for joining me today.
No problem. We're really excited to obviously work with my home county, Frederick County, so thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for joining us. I hope you learned a little bit about what we're doing with sustainability in Frederick County government and our efforts to become certified through STAR Communities. Thank you for joining us.